Welcome to the third dimension. Arab and Muslim leaders gathered in Saudi Arabia for a summit on November the 11th to address the wars in Gaza and Lebanon, a chance to send a message to the US President-elect Donald Trump. In the closing statement of the summit, the leaders said they condemn in the strongest terms the Israeli army's actions in the context of the crime of genocide, especially in the northern Gaza Strip during the past weeks, citing torture, executions, disappearances, and ethnic cleansing. The leaders also called for the mobilization of international support to freeze Israel's participation in the United Nations and to stop the Israeli aggression in the region. The summit comes a year after a similar gathering in Riyadh of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Countries, during which leaders condemned Israeli actions in Gaza as barbaric. Meanwhile, this year's summit comes as Donald Trump made a historic comeback to the White House. In sharp contrast to the fears voiced in Europe about Donald Trump's famous unpredictability, some Arab countries, especially in the Gulf, tend to view him as a force for stability. According to observers, this year's summit was very much an opportunity for regional leaders to signal to the incoming Trump administration what they want in terms of US engagement. Yet, there is a widespread speculation about what a second Trump presidency will mean for the region. To discuss this topic, I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. Nabil Negem. Mr. Negem is an international affairs expert and a senior Middle East analyst. Mr. Negem, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Hassan, and my greetings to the respectful audience.
Okay. Now, this is the second extraordinary Arab Islamic summit meeting in Riyadh, Mr. Nabil. Okay. The question is, how is this year's meeting different from last year's one?
First of all, we have to emphasize on one big fact, that the atrocities in Gaza have unified the Muslims and Arab leaders and Muslim and Arab nation, because what's going on in Gaza is totally beyond the human acceptance. It is an absolute genocide. The extraordinary summit of the Arab and Muslim leaders in Riyadh came out with a very strong communique, has got a very strong wording and meaning as well.
Okay. Now, as you have mentioned, the wording of the statement, Mr. Negem, okay, if we may recall last year's statement, the leaders called for breaking the blockade and ensuring the delivery of humanitarian aid, okay?
Yes.
But nothing happened out of that. Now, if we come back to this year's statement, Mr. Negem, the leaders called for something even, I would say, more significant than this. They called for mobilization of international support to freeze Israel participation in the United Nations. The question is, okay, when they did not, or when they were not able to ensure delivery of aid last year, how would they be able to freeze Israel's membership in the United Nations?
The international arena is totally different. Students, public opinions in USA, in Europe, everywhere is totally unified against what's going on in Israel. I believe very much the communique of last Monday's summit, extra summit of the Arab and Muslim leaders, should be the beginning of a mass Muslim and Arab people boycott to any Israeli product, boycott to any company which is supplying Israel with products, boycott to any middle company and transportation companies. To be honest with you, now it is the time for the people. Leaders have come with a very strong communique. People should start by boycotting. The people or the countries which is supporting Israel will not change its stance before they feel the pain. And the pain is going to be in their international trade. All the brands, I don't want to mention them, food brands, retail brands, shipping brands, all those brands, we can stop dealing with them. We will not gonna die if we stop eating or drinking those international brands, which I don't want to make propaganda for them. And the audience knows what I'm saying. Number two, the people should start, what you call it, writing to the embassies in their capitals. US embassy, France embassy, German embassy, Chinese embassy, Russian embassy. Those are the 5 permanent countries which are holding seats at the Security Council.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be the executive body of the whole world. But that executive body, which has got a major and first responsibility to keep stability and peace, is not doing that. Because every member of the permanent states is looking after their agenda, and they don't care about what's going on in Gaza, Lebanon, and other places.
Yeah. So mobilization of masses is something good, Mr. Nabil Negem, okay?
Definitely.
Yeah, but Ahmad Abul Ghait, the Secretary General of the Arab League, talked about this particular demand, which is again freezing Israel's membership in the United Nations, okay, as a kind of historic move. The question is, do you think the Arab League and the Islamic countries, okay, do they have a kind of clear mechanism to do this?
To be honest with you, and I'm here talking as an international relation analyst, they have unlimited power. Those countries, the Arab and Islamic states, can come together with one decision. Hey, enough is enough. We are not going to deal with the business which is coming from these countries. To be honest with you, this world is only recognizing the language of power, strength, no logic, no international law. So to freeze the membership of Israel at the United Nations is not easy before the people who support Israel feel the pain. And the pain is not going to come through economy, business. And this way, their people is going to demonstrate against their governments, and they're going to change their governments. It's going like that. The mechanism is very simple. If you change the public opinion in London, Paris, Washington, etc., the public opinion will go to vote and will say, no, we don't want this government which is not standing with the international law. As simple as that. The Islamic and Arabic states do have the power. All we need is to activate the strength and the power and the tools which is among those at least 80 countries.
Okay. Now, one major development, Mr. Negem, that happened before this summit was Donald Trump's election, or historic comeback to the White House, a development that can never be taken into, or it can never be taken into granted. We all know that Trump's record in office is a mixed one when it comes to the Middle East. The question is, in your opinion, Mr. Negm, what a second Trump presidency will mean for the region?
I wrote an article last week, and I said the return of Donald Trump is the beginning of a big drama.
I see.
That was the title of the article.
Yeah.
The return of Trump is the beginning of a big drama,
Hmm.
which is this guy is totally away from the well-established values of politicians. He is, I'm sorry to use the word, he's a cowboy. He's a man of action. He's a man who is obsessed with the camera, and he's a man who is totally away from the well-established principles of the ethical side of politics. So he could do anything. He could come up with anything. By the way, I cannot forgive him or forget that those insults which he has waged against some Arab leaders. This man doesn't know the meaning of respect. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm talking about his behavior.
Yes.
Now, the Arab leaders should start to reconsider their way of dealing with this guy who's going to be in the office next January.
Yeah.
5th. He recognized one word, power. He doesn't recognize logic. He doesn't recognize ethics. He recognized one word, power. You have to be powerful. If you want to talk and get something out or do a deal with Donald Trump, you have to have a very powerful language and a very powerful politics.
Okay, so if we just want to make it more specific, Mr. Negm, okay, in terms of Israel, Mr. Negm, okay, do you think Trump would exercise more leverage or pressure on the Israeli government in terms of de-escalation?
Not really. He's not going to exercise any sort of pressure, but he is going to do something, which is, hey, let's stop killing. Hey, let's stop all these, genocide files or chapters, and the situation will be the same. Israel is there, not implementing the Security Council resolution or resolutions 242 and 338 and 425. And during the last presidency of Mr. Trump, Israel has annexed the Golan Heights, which is an occupied territory, according to the Security Council. And he said, okay, why not? So I don't expect a lot out of his presidency, but I think very much we have to tell him, hey, we have common interests. You need things from the Muslim and Arab world, and the Muslim and Arab world expecting better behavior and better politics toward Israel.
Yeah, okay. Now, if we may turn to Iran, Mr. Negm, which is a major player in the region too, okay? Now, some observers say Trump's return to the White House is thought likely to give Israel a freer hand to strike targets in Iran, like oil and nuclear facilities, that the Biden administration said were off limits. How would you describe this?
I don't believe very much that the situation as simple black and white like that. No. You come to a point to which you don't know who is abusing who is using who. Sometimes when you look at the relation between Tel Aviv and Washington, you get totally mixed up. Washington is a superpower, USA, and should be those father founders founded that state upon highly respectful principles. Israel is a state which came 1948 and occupying lands not occupying by the international law. So how come Washington cannot tell Israel off, stop, don't do that? And Israel is doing what it does want. So when it comes to your specific question regarding Iran, there is a scenario as simple as that. The minute Israel is going to attack Iran openly, every single target in the area is what you call it, a target for Iran. They're going to hit oil sources. They're going to hit the naval passages, Hormuz and others. So you're going to turn up the area into a big volcano. Would the interest of Mr. Trump and USA and the European would be okay with such dramatic developments? Answer is no. So I don't think we're going to see a wide open war between Israel and Iran, because Iran is there in Yemen, in Iraq, Syria, and still in the south of Lebanon.
Okay.
So I think Mr. Trump is going to do a sort of mishmash politics in regarding the Israeli-Iranian track.
Yeah, okay. So as you just pointed out rightly, that mentioning Iran means mentioning also Iran proxies in the region. And one of these proxies is the Houthis in Yemen, Mr. Negem. Now, do you think Trump's approach towards the Houthis would be the same as Biden's?
It might not be the same, because he's going to send a message to Tel Aviv. Hey, and to Tehran as well, by the way. Listen, let's cool it down. I need a break. I need to reshape the White House external politics. So if I was in the Houthis' shoe, I would really go back to the basic fundamental principle of the game and talk to my brothers in the south and outside, and talk to the Yemeni government. Nobody is going to help you forever. And don't let yourself, Houthis, to be a tool, because the international power game keeps changing. And the arrival of Mr. Trump to the White House, for sure, is going to change a lot of things in the Middle East. And one of them is the role of Al-Houthis.
Okay.
So my advice to Al-Houthis, go back to your brothers and come to a sort of tolerance and acceptance to each other, and combine a unity or a unified government among consistent of all the Yemenis, and take Yemen out of the big game.
And in terms of the security of the Red Sea, Mr. Negem?
Now you are talking here about a big issue.
Yeah.
The security of the Red Sea, now you are talking about Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Jordan, Israel, and the eastern bank. To go to the west bank of the Red Sea, talking about Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, Djibouti. So 8 or 9 countries here. And when you talk about the security of the Red Sea, you are talking about the well-established international canal, Suez Canal.
Yeah.
And you are talking about Bab el-Mandab passage and Hormuz. And you are talking about hundreds of tons of oil and products coming from China, from the Gulf, to Europe and North America. I'm afraid to tell you something which I really can see clearly. If they don't control all the fire bombs in the area, Houthis, Al-Qaeda, Hashd al-Sha'bi in Iraq, Hezbollah, Israel, those 5 time bombs could explode and turn up the whole area, not only the Red Sea security, the whole area into a big hell. Number one is to restore stability in the area, stability to Yemen, stability to Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and the two-state solution. And then we talk after that about the security of the Red Sea. There is no permanent peace, stability, and security in this area before the big players tackle the fundamental reason of stability or instability, which is Palestine, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon.
Yeah.
They have to restore peace in these states and bring millions of people to normal life and to enjoy education, health, etc. Without that, no stability in the area and no peace for Europe and USA.
Yeah, okay. Now, some observers say, Mr. Negem, in the same context of this kind of relations between Trump and his key allies in the region, especially Arab countries. They say some Arab countries, especially in the Gulf, okay, tend to view Trump as a force for stability. My question is, can such countries make use of their good relations with Trump and urge him to exercise pressure on Israel?
I'm afraid to tell you, the game started to change. The classic allies of USA in the area are changing their directions. I'm not going to call names here, but major ally for USA is heading to China and to Russia. And the other two are doing the same. So I believe, sorry, we have a situation where if there is no wisdom in the Donald Trump presidency, which is going to start 2025, I think USA is hurting itself because the old game of the classic allies has changed.
Yeah. So as you're talking about the change of the game, etc., Mr. Negem, to wrap up this conversation, some observers say we should not judge Trump through his first presidency. Do you think we are going to see a different Trump this time?
I hope so. And
Totally.
I said the return, my article, I intentionally called it, the return of Donald Trump to the White House is the beginning of a drama. Which a drama? We'll have to wait and see and judge.
Yeah. With this remark, we come to the end of this interview, Mr. Negem. Thank you so much for your time and insight, and thank you for talking to Yemen Today TV.
Thanks for having me, sir.
That's all for this time. See you next week with a new edition of The Third Dimension.